What's up? Welcome to a new episode of Movie Schmovie. This is episode number 284. My name is Steve, one of the co-hosts, and I'm here with...
I'm Ron.
John. I can probably say that more
yet
clearly.
Again. And yet again,
John.
You guys got it right. You both got it right.
Yeah.
And John. The first time I was like, John. I don't know. It was too informal. I don't want to stumble out of the gate.
So we're back on a streak. We got 2 weeks in a row. Look at that.
Look at
We
that.
can do it.
We're doing it.
Just gotta make it happen.
Yeah.
But I think like coming into this recording, it seems like a lot of the conversation that we've been having on our text thread is like we've been talking a lot about HBO Max, and I think that like we kind of talked previously that we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. I mean, it's going to pop up in some of the bits that we're talking about with news. But Ronald had suggested like kind of going over some of the HBO Max titles that are coming up, you know, since they've kind of been promoting and releasing more little snippet reels of their, their big 2021 announcement where there are all these massive titles are coming day and date to theaters and to HBO Max subscribers for, a predetermined window of time. But, we've experienced the Wonder Woman of it all, which we talked about last time. But we've seen some more clips. We've seen some trailers for one of their next big movies. So I know we're going to spend a bit of time on the podcast today, kind of going over some of those titles, some of the movies that we're most excited about, and talking about some of the numbers that they released and just kind of what we feel like HBO Max means right now and maybe what it means in the future. But outside of HBO Max, like what else have you guys been doing over the last week news-wise? Anything popped up that you want to bring up at the top of the podcast?
Yeah, I think I wanted to talk about NBCUniversal's acquisition of WWE's content. They're going to be the exclusive place to get WWE content, both archival stuff and live entertainment. So, and for context to this, last year there were talks that WrestleMania was going to be a Fox event. That was like a big thing. Right. They're in bed with Fox. They've been dealing with them for a little bit. It was going to be WrestleMania being shown on TV like the Super Bowl. That was the rumor. There were some heavy duty talks, and Vince McMahon kind of mentioned that he was doing it. COVID kind of ruined that, and everybody thought it was that was it. And then this announcement: Peacock is going to be the exclusive content holder for the WWE content, which means that the network is probably going to disappear, which has a little under 1 million subscribers. And it's been years. This service has been going on for 4 years, I believe. And that's it. That's only 1 million subscribers. And that is not very many. So people have been, it's a hard sell for people to go from watching content for free to going to pay for it. And especially with, the culture of WWE, it's like USA and UPN were the sources for Raw and SmackDown. Now there's a definitive place to see it, and it's going to be packaged into Peacock, which is a good service to me.
Yeah. What's most interesting about it, like, I didn't belong to the WWE over the top service. Like I'm a few years removed from like my peak of interest in professional wrestling. Mm-hmm. But like, I think the most interesting thing when you hear, NBC Universal, Peacock, and WWE, it's immediately when you think of like this content is king, trying to own properties. Why would Comcast ultimately only lease this content if they could possibly just buy WWE? I think that like, you see these megacorps like kind of starting to fold these other content creators into their streaming services or whatever their outlet may be. But like immediately when I read that and when you brought this up on our thread, it was like, what would stop them outside of, I guess, Vince McMahon? Because I guess he's like a majority voting stake, I guess, and owns a lot of the company. Mm-hmm. My hunch is basically that like ultimately I feel like the goal for Comcast to even do this is to eventually buy WWE.
Yes.
I mean that seems to be completely logical and very, very possible.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I think this is a test run. I think they're going to see how the content, how the subscribership affects. Sure. The content affects the subscribership, And I think once they determine, because, you know, WrestleMania, they've announced that it starts in March, which is crazy. 2 major events, including WrestleMania, will be on that network, will be on Peacock, as opposed to the WWE network. I actually am subscribed to WWE network. I love it's literally all of the pay-per-views since the beginning of time. A lot of the Raws from the beginning of time. It's pretty crazy. So, you know, I'm Peacock through Comcast for free. I'm feeling like this is a good deal. What do you think, John? What do you think about?
Oh, I have almost nothing to say about anything wrestling related.
Yeah, I
take your word for it that it's a big deal. The most surprising thing that I heard in all of that was that there were only 1 million subscribers to the WWE service. That seems incredibly low for something that to me seems like it's one of those secret economies, isn't it? Like wrestling is one of those huge entertainment things that's like, you know, less than 1 million subscribers sounds insanely low for what my imagining is of the sort of demographic of people and the numbers they expect to pull with wrestling. But am I wrong? Is it more niche today than I thought?
Yeah, I think that so here's what it is. When Steve stopped watching it is when it stopped becoming cool. That's what it is. Wrestling was
very
that
effect
cool
on things, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I've been told.
When Steve got out, everybody got out. But the fact of the matter is, it's not in your imagination. Wrestling was better back then because it was attached to things. There was this brand integration that you would see. You know, like, you know, Edge would fight in WrestleMania, but he would also be on an episode of a show or in a movie or something like that. There was this interconnectivity that existed. A lot of the storylines were adult, and now they're not so adult. They're actually, since they're a publicly traded company now, they're kind of going for a kidsy thing. So it's a lot of things that have affected the brand of wrestling. Mm-hmm. And some of it is also the internet. The internet, things get taped beforehand. Those things leak. People are like, I don't want to see it. I know the results already because somebody went to that event and they're talking about it online. So live events are kind of where it's at. And hopefully this will be a thing.
Yeah, I think it's also like just important to know, like, you know, they only had 1 million subscribers, but I mean, they managed to survive a lot longer than some other streaming services that have come up. You know, they kind of started like 6 or 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. So they have been around, and they were kind of at the forefront of the whole like exclusive over the top service. But when you kind of see this idea that, you know, they can fold it into Peacock, and I think it's on the premium level of Peacock. So it's the $4.99 service level, you know, that gets you access to the whole WWE library. But to note, that's half the price of what the WWE network subscription was.
Right.
And, you know, and it kind of helps promote Peacock's, you know, higher tier level where, you know, they've also this whole past like 3 months, they've been promoting it as this is what you get The Office with. This is what you get all this cool Office shit with.
Yeah.
Well, now they're like, oh, you get The Office, and for a different, you know, segment of entertainment, you have access to the WWE library, which, you know, for $4.99 a month, I mean, if you're in as one of those 1 million, you're not leaving. You're coming back because it's half the price. And, you know, it might be a gateway from other people that, you know, maybe didn't want to pay the $10 that can pay $5 and get everything else that Peacock Premium has to offer.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
Huh?
What else we got?
I wanted to at least mention the Palm Springs commentary edition that Hulu released, just because I feel like this is a thing. They've even said they really wanted to bring something of that DVD experience back, you know, with the sort of bonus materials. I mean, people have done this in the past, and there've been special events with people doing commentary or podcasts where people are doing commentary, and there've been bonus features on streaming things, and, you know, Apple, when you buy movies there or rent movies there, you can get that stuff. And Amazon has, you know, special things, but there is still something about that commentary track that if you were a DVD fan or a fan of collecting movies, that, you know, you may have actually listened to them. And I actually did listen to a lot of commentaries when that became a thing. And I've sort of missed it in a way, just the idea of it, you know, and I like the idea that they're trying to kind of bring it back. And in general, I think Palm Springs is a movie that everyone behind it was really excited about. And it kind of got, like, I think this is a movie that audiences might have really responded to theatrically. And it's a shame to me that this movie kind of got, you know, sidelined by this experience. Like, they didn't get to have their red carpet thing. They didn't get to have a big premiere. I just rewatched the movie today. I didn't watch the commentary edition. I probably will, but I rewatched it again. And, was just reminded how much I like this. I know we've mentioned it on the show. I don't think we talked much about it, but to me, that feels like it's sort of like an episode of The Twilight Zone meets Game Night in terms of, I feel like it's rewatchable and funny. It's got great characters, and I think it's cool that they're doing something like that. And I didn't know if you guys had any thought about that whole idea of now that, if you have a movie like that, the people behind it basically are accepting this is going to exist on Hulu now. No one's going to buy this in any kind of physical format. How can we, still put in those little bonuses or those little things that add value to a movie? I don't know. It just to me seemed like something slightly new.
I think that's incredible, man. I'm a digital user. I use movies anywhere, and I'm a primarily iTunes guy, and I'll get stuff on Vudu that's kind of 4K on one thing but not 4K on the other. And I can say, man, when Movies Anywhere has started to put extras on, bonus scenes, commentary, things like that, I love it. I mean, and with iTunes, you get the whole, like almost like a DVD package. You hit the title and you have like a DVD menu with extras and things like that. So I think that this is the natural progression of this stuff, kind of making it the same experience that you would have on your DVD, except in this digital form. And I'm a huge fan of it. I can't wait to watch it with the commentary.
And it feels like you said, John, it's like a natural transition too, just to the idea of, the digital existence of things, like, like the iTunes and, special features that come down with some of those releases, like when you can purchase, the HD copies of films digitally, it's just like a natural progression of another version of how these things can be, not things that you're owning, but things that you're accessing as a part of your subscription, but still makes it kind of feel like that next level of immersion, in terms of like what you can watch in terms of special features, making ofs eventually. Like that's one thing, I missed from having so much physical media, was like I was always about those commentary tracks and the making of special docs that they'd make to go along with these movies, which they don't do as much anymore. Even if you're buying the physical disc of these films, like they don't make them that much in general.
Right.
The special features for the physical media. So the fact
it was like a marketing thing at first, and I think then it became something that actually added value. And I think now that we've moved away from physical media, people sort of feel that stuff was just junk that got added to like market you. But there were certain discs and certain companies and certain directors, you would figure out who would go out of their way to produce a quality product like that.
Yeah, man.
No, it's good stuff. It's really great. I mean, and I've actually watched the commentary track for Palm Springs, and it's great. It definitely is like what you want if you want to know more about the movie. Tons of little behind the scenes stuff, tidbits, and it's cool to see people tweeting about it. People accessing that kind of feature, and even you, John, mentioning it. Like, it's good that people are aware of it. They should definitely promote that more, because I think that's something that people that are really into those kind of just behind the curtain stuff. It's just like a way to get that. Especially for a movie like that. And again, that's like a movie. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. So like, it's definitely, it's nice to see that that's included with your subscription. But yeah. What else? Can we talk?
At the very moment when we started this, Cloris Leachman died, right? Like on Hollywood Reporter on the front page.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, 94 years old, and what a career. I mean, she was one of those people who had that whole last act of her career getting to play an ambiguously extremely old person, but she got to do that for like 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, so she was playing a bit older than she was, and then she ended up playing a bit younger in a way. You know what I mean? She's one of those people who just kept doing it. I don't know when her last role was, but I know at least a few years back, she was probably a regular on a sitcom or something. She was just one of those hardworking people who everyone probably has a project or two that she was in that she made an impression,
Yeah.
All right. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Let's see what's next.
I don't
know.
Do
we want to get into the HBO Max stuff?
Are we gonna Are we gonna get into that and segue into Little Things for a minute? Or are we gonna talk a little things and then segue into HBO Max?
Maybe Little Things first, because I was thinking that we could say, we could be like, hey, with
Because that's kind of the first one up, if you really are looking at.
Yes, outside of the
like, right.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're talking about the HBO Max in theaters and on HBO Max kind of marketing campaign. I forget the exact verbiage they're using, but it's like it's insane to see the sort of movies that are included in that idea when you realize that they're going to be something you can watch at home right away. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. But as of the day this episode comes out, there is a new one out that is a big, theatrical release as well as an HBO Max release. And that would be The Little Things, starring Denzel Washington and who else is in this? Rami Malek.
And
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto.
Yes.
Natalie Morales has like a smaller role in the movie.
Did you guys both watch it?
I did. Did you manage to watch it, Steve?
I have not watched it. No.
All right.
So try to refrain from.
I don't think I would say anything particularly spoilery anyway, since it's brand new and we're really kind of talking about it as it's like one of those professional reviews. We're just going to offer some thoughts, useful opinions. We don't have to dissect it. What did you think overall of The Little Things, Ronald?
I honestly like detective stories. I like, murder mysteries. And I think that this was kind of a paint by numbers movie, but here's the issue. Paint by numbers movie, but it had incredible actors in it. So you have this like kind of a CSI sort of my mom used to watch a bunch of PBS murder mysteries, kind of like that, but heightened because you have these incredible actors in Rami Malek and Denzel and Jared Leto doing a thing that I kind of wish he did as the Joker in Suicide Squad. He has this like tick to him and kind of talking on an offbeat that is so cool. And once they capture him in this space to kind of be who he is, he opens in a way that I just really enjoyed. Now, was this a perfect movie? Absolutely not. But I thought it was a fun movie. And especially since I'm getting this in the comfort of my own home. I feel like it feels so much more gratifying to be able to get this level of performance in Jared Leto, Denzel and Rami Malek in this movie in the comfort of my own home. I would absolutely suggest this for anybody that likes murder mysteries. It's flawed as hell though.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you said kind of paint by numbers, I don't know. It's like, I guess that's close to what, like, I feel like it's kind of one note in a strange way and kind of drab, and like it kind of drags out a bit, but I do know what you mean about the compelling nature of this type of movie when they have good actors in it. But it just kept making me think of much better movies. I hate to say that, but like I kept thinking of like Prisoners and things like that that have not too different of a vibe from this, but like this felt like, I don't know. I really think I come down to believing it was the dialogue that let the actors down in a way that that when you say paint by numbers, there is a kind of, I don't know, like I just didn't buy some of the cop dialogue and then all the relationship stuff. That just felt like there were scenes where, I just wouldn't buy. I would like the acting would be good and the filmmaking would be good. And there's even some interesting ways this is shot. There's a lot of nighttime driving scenes. And there's some really interesting things that have something going for it cinematically and have there's a tonal thing going on with this movie that is one of those. It's an ambiguous thing. It's all about like, how far will you go to solve a crime? How far would you go to punish someone you thought committed a crime? I don't know. I will say it did not connect with me ultimately. Like overall, I felt like the elements that I enjoyed were overwhelmed by checking my watch a few too many times for me to give this movie a passing grade in a sense. But I do think that what you're saying about, if you like this type of movie or this type of story, there is a lot of, just even scenes, the way they're shot, like following someone, watching someone, spying on someone, like those moments to me felt interesting cinematically, and the actors carried some of those moments. And I do agree that when you get some time with Jared Leto's character, his off-kilter aspect is a big source of tension. Again, not too different from the way that I'm spacing on his name in Prisoners, who plays the guy that they capture.
Paul Dano.
Oh, Paul Dano. Yeah, like the way he plays like offbeat characters. I feel like Jared Leto's kind of doing a Paul Dano, not quite that socially awkward of a character, but a similar sort of, who is this guy? He's out of step with everyone around him, and that makes it very easy to believe, okay, this guy has done some really awful stuff, you know. I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely watchable, but I feel ultimately like it kind of let me down on some level. I was sort of bored with it by the time it was over.
Yeah, it's a whole 2 hours. It's 2 hours and 8 minutes or something like that. Like it's 2 hours. You feel the 2 hours, and I kind of wish it could have been about an hour and a half. Kind of getting to the point, you know, they really do. When somebody's like camping out, they camp out. Like it's like a scene. It's a whole scene, which feels very like it could have served better as maybe a mini series, a 3-part mini series.
Yeah, it almost either needed more or less or something. I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right. But I also think that where it ends up is some of the most interesting stuff is in the last part of the movie. You know?
Yeah, third
act
can
make you feel pretty good about the very end of something is when it actually solidly ends. Like, and you realize what the point of what you were watching was. I do think it does a good job of that. The last moments are interesting. So
I liked it, man. I liked it.
I almost liked it.
Yeah. So it's a little long, but I definitely enjoyed it. I'm seeing that the critic scores out of here are kind of rough on it, you know, and I don't know if it deserves kind of what it's getting, especially with some. I'm not going to throw in any, you know, how I feel about a couple of streaming services. I'll say that I've seen way worse movies with higher scores, cinema scores. And I feel like they're kind of beating this up because it's not from some of the other streaming services. That's all I'll say. There's a bias that seems to be in some of these critiques.
Oh,
man.
Interesting. You think people are coming out for HBO Max?
Come on. Yeah, man. Like I think it would serve people to say great things about movies on other services. Now we can agree, like Queen's Gambit, perfect. There are some perfect things that are coming out from other services, but there's some like mid coming in there too. There's some mid
other services.
Netflix.
Yeah, you've mentioned Queen's Gambit, like, oh, but other services.
Hulu too.
You showed your hand. You showed your hand.
Hulu too. But you know what I'm saying, like.
Too?
But Hulu's been getting a little bit of headway, like, you know, Run earlier this year and Palm Springs earlier this year. Hulu's had a few originals that are like, you know, again, I would put them in my solid list of the year, which we have not done. Maybe we'll just rattle off our top 10s next week in the first 5 minutes.
I'd like
just
to do that.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
It's way more difficult this year. I'm having an identity crisis.
It's a different list.
What qualifies? Am I going by Oscar rules, or am I just going by did it come out in 2020?
Yes. You know what?
Because we have the extended window now, so I'm like, movies that I'm watching now could qualify.
This is changing into that thing where like there was a period. I kind of talked about this when I was able to get on stage and do stand up, where there used to be a time where all of us would kind of generally know the songs that were out. Yeah, they would kind of know the movies that were out. Once streaming services came out for for music, things changed. They were wildly different. Like, sure, you could like, you know, grunge bands or something like that in Portland or something. You could like stuff like that back in the day, but now you could be listening to something in Germany. Like, I like a German jazz singer, and it's getting so strange.
Yeah, you don't ever have to listen to music that you haven't chosen for yourself.
Exactly.
And that you haven't designated as a type of music or a band that you like.
Yes.
As opposed to like just being, there are ways to expose yourself to something similar to like Top 40 radio when I was growing up. Yeah. But you can also just opt out of being exposed to anything you haven't chosen. And I do think that's an interesting thing, because it means you can kind of find that subculture that you're looking for. But it also means you're not kind of forced, like administered forcibly to accept certain pop music like I was growing up. And like, I think often leads to a broader palette. Like it's one of the reasons why I can like just about any kind of music, I think, is because I didn't have, I couldn't choose. It was just the radio. Yeah.
And because of that,
rock.
And because of that, I'm really paying attention to people's lists now. Before I'd be like, they're gonna.
When people suggest something for you,
yes, you're like the same 10 movies. You're gonna say the same 10 movies. Now it's like, oh my god, like what the, a Middle Eastern micro budget film that's it's insane now. So our lists are going to be so interesting now. I'm super excited about that.
We'll see next time. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
spend a segment on it.
Yeah.
If there's anything we haven't mentioned yet, talk about it a little bit. But my big fear was, since we talked about some stuff earlier in the year, and then we did like a best of the year so far thing in the fall, I feel like I'd be talking about Dave for the third time if we did our best of the year thing. So now we have kind of let's
weird,
do a little
we have
overview.
a weird snapshot of, the first two releases from HBO Max, man. There is an interesting calendar schedule of craziness coming out on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should take a look ahead and kind of name some movies that we're really eyeing this year.
Steve, why don't you pick one, since you are, you didn't get to talk about Little Things. You were shut out.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Rob.
I mean, there's actually quite a bit. I was gonna make a comment real quick that like a lot of what I would say, like you're concerned with like the bias toward HBO Max, I feel like that's a little inherited, because a lot of the movies that Warner Brothers is putting out or producing in a lot of ways are more like blockbuster movies. So like, I don't know that they always have great critic scores. I don't know that that's necessarily the case with Little Things, but with the calendar that we're talking about, that we're looking at together, like there's a lot of like bigger movies on there that may not in the end, even if they were in theaters, like had good Rotten Tomatoes scores.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit different just because of the studio itself.
That's a good point.
I think that, Judas and the Black Messiah that comes out, it's like their February release. That's probably the first one. I mean, it comes out next month, but that's the one that seems to be one that is going to have an amazing Rotten Tomatoes score, for those concerned about that bias, Ronald. But because that's a real Oscar player, and that's the reviews on that have been amazing. The trailers have been amazing. That movie just looks phenomenal, and to see filmmakers, actors, like people that have seen this movie, you kind of tell if you follow Twitter accounts, of your favorite directors, actors, whatever. This time of year, there's lots of love going around, for awards consideration, for your consideration stuff. So to see people posting about movies that they're not in or have anything to do with, and filmmakers that you really love, you kind of get excited even more about those things. And to see people posting things about Judas and the Black Messiah, like Ryan Johnson and like Olivia Wilde, like filmmakers that have just been raving about it, it makes me even more excited to see the movie. I love everybody in it. Apparently it's like the filmmaking is just amazing. And I think that's like looking, the first quarter, even second quarter, like that's the one that is like the real, probably the high quality, not just awards prestige kind of movie, but, non-genre, like this is like a legit fucking movie that's coming into a theater and to your house on the same day.
Yeah. I'm bursting at the seams, man.
Yeah, that's February 12th. So it's only a couple weeks away, but I mean, that's going to be a big one, I think. And, I can't wait to see that. So that's probably the first one. It's the next one, but looking across the first, couple months, it's the one that I probably am most excited to see.
Can I suggest a companion piece for that, for anybody that's interested in that? A couple years ago, when we went to the Maryland Film Festival, they aired a documentary called The Black Panthers Vanguard of the Revolution.
Yes.
Stanley Nelson Jr. And I'm pretty sure John and I were in the theater. I think we were.
We might have been at the same screening. I know I was at one that had a Q&A.
Yes, that was like, it was heavy because it was like fresh off of everything that happened in Baltimore with the uprising. And it was a crazy Q&A. It was really good. Stanley was a little tense, but it was a very good documentary. It is incredible. It's like a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Black Panthers, Vanguard of the Revolution. It's a very good look at the Black Panthers and everything that happened.
Well, I hate to say that after seeing that movie, one of my first thoughts was, boy, this would make a great movie. Or that documentary, I should say.
Yeah.
I thought it'd make a great movie. Or like someone should make a really, like you could make a great HBO like series out of all the stuff that was going on politically and within the group. And, and again, this movie looks like it's doing that kind of epic treatment of the story, which, you don't need that Hollywoodization of things necessarily, but when something is this powerful of a story and this important of a story, it's kind of cool to see it treated with, I don't know, with a budget and with some seriousness and like a historical epic, I don't know. I love that. So I'm always excited. Those types of movies when they hit can be so incredible.
Yeah. 1995's Panther was one, but it didn't hit hard. Yeah. So this one looks incredible. So I can't wait.
Ronald, got a pick?
Oh yes. Okay. So my next pick is it's a corny one, man, but Mortal Kombat. Look, we video game movies typically really are kind of questionable, and this one seems like, at the very least, they're trying to make it as close to the story of Mortal Kombat, which is a cool thing about a bunch of warriors that go to an island to fight. This will have fatalities in this one. There will be death. There will be blood. It is rated R. They are going to have the original characters, Sonya Blade, Scorpion.
You think someone's going to say, "Get over here"?
Yes, I think so. I absolutely think somebody's going to do that.
It'll be him. It'll be in the next trailer, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe so. Maybe that'll be the tagline. Get over here.
Yeah. So Mortal Kombat, man, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
I got
John, what do you got?
I'm gonna say, make sure I'm getting everything right about this. Well, date TBD on this one, but Tyler Sheridan's new movie, Those Who Wish Me Dead, just sounds like a Tyler Sheridan movie. So I'm all in on that, even though, it's like there's not much out there about this movie, but the basic story, according to IMDb, is a teenage murder witness finds himself pursued by twin assassins in the Montana wilderness, with a survival expert tasked with protecting him and a forest fire threatening to consume them all. Sounds insane. But, it's got elements of things that I love. This sort of person versus nature, man versus man against the backdrop of nature. I don't know. It's got elements of like The Gray or even other Tyler Sheridan movies that have sort of the landscape of where the story takes place is a part of the story. And that cast sounds incredible. Nicholas Hoult, Angelina Jolie, John Barenthal. So yeah, I'm all in on this just from the
Taylor Sheridan. Taylor Sheridan.
It's his friends say to call him Tyler.
Oh, is that what they do?
So the A is only there for people.
They just leave out the A?
Out there who know how to read. So no, Taylor Sheridan. That was a test, Steve, and you passed.
Yeah. I love that guy. I'm all about that one too, man. I love everything he's done.
Have they released much footage from it? I mean, is it
no?
Is it just like, okay? Because when I click
they had the word logo,
button, right? But it takes you to the general HBO Max things are coming. Montage, not the trailer. But anyway, TBD. So I guess it'll be like maybe first half of the year, maybe in the summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've loved all those Tay movies.
I think the fact that they had the logo on the front of the HBO announcements means that they think it's something special,
right,
regardless of, the footage that they've shown yet. So.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot on this list that I'm all about. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to cover this because I feel like you guys will cover me otherwise, but I'm just kind of going down this list. The next one I'm seeing is the new Conjuring movie, which I would, be lying if I said I wasn't like super excited for. And, diminishing returns maybe as a franchise goes along, but I will say the first two I really like. The first one I love, one of the best horror movies I've seen in a long time. And anything that kind of keeps the story going. I love Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga together as the Warrens, and any like the subtitle of what is it? The Devil Made Me Do It, or the third title, whatever that second title, whatever you call that. I love that idea of just kind of keeping this going with a different case from their files. And I'm looking at his log lines. Like it's just one of the cases, like the first time in U.S. history that a murder suspect would claim demonic possession as his defense during this case. So I mean that kind of thing, like the framing it of being like a real case. I like how these are all kind of based on some version of their real case logs. I don't know. So that's
cool.
That's probably on my list. That comes out as of now, June 4th. One of the things I would say, they do seem to be moving these dates around a lot. So I don't know.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know how strong these dates are, because like Godzilla vs. Kong moved up like 2 or 3 months, and then it moved back a week. But these movies, some of these movies that have been delayed, that have been in the can already, like they have that. I guess they have that flexibility, just to kind of like see how things are doing as titles come out, so they can kind of, kind of keep this like every 3 weeks, every month going to kind of keep people subscribed, like we talked about last week. But yeah, Conjuring, Devil Made Me Do It.
Cool.
Ronald.
Okay, so they doubted him.
Yeah,
they doubted him. They didn't want to see him win, and then he won with disease hanging on the heads of athletes. We're talking about LBJ, LeBron James, my cousin in my head. One of the greatest basketball players of all time came to LA, won a championship, and he appeared in a couple movies. It wasn't so bad. Trainwreck, it was pretty good, and Smallfoot, he played one of the bigger characters in the movie, and he has some comedic chops. So when I heard the announcement that LeBron James is going to be in Space Jam, the first thing I thought was, man, he's going to be better than Michael Jordan. First thing I thought. The second thing I thought was, oh my God. No
offense to Michael Jordan's legacy, but isn't LeBron James already better than Michael Jordan just by virtue of the fact that Michael Jordan's acting it's charming in that movie, but it's not, I don't know. It's if that's the bar, then yes, LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan.
Yeah. So that movie, and they keep showing these crazy clips of it, like 5-second clips that look really cool. I'm rooting for the guy that plays the new voice, the voice of Bugs Bunny, Asian American dude, looks incredible. The stills that I keep seeing, I don't like the New Jerseys, but Space Jam, I'm really looking forward to it. And that comes out in, if I'm not mistaken, July.
Are they going for like a 2D Roger Rabbit original Space Jam kind of feel for the animation, or is it more computer generated looking?
It looks like that. So. It looks like kind of the old school, obviously a little sharper, 4K quality, but yeah, it looks like some of the hand drawn stuff like back in the day. Like the stills have kind of looked like that. So cool. It looks exciting, man.
No, I'm up in, it seems like a movie like that's going to have some cool sequences in it, and it's going to look great, or they wouldn't be doing it. You know what I mean? If so, in that sense, I think it's going to be fun, and I bet it'll have a lot of little cameos and funny bits. And
absolutely,
yes, even a non-basketball fan such as myself can look forward to the prospect of what's it called? Still jamming?
Space Jam: A New Legacy.
New legacy. Ooh, they might be taking themselves seriously. Let's watch out. The movie that I want to say is, we're just going down the list. This is really funny. Suicide Squad. Come on, James Gunn doing like underdog superheroes. I'm in, like done. Yeah. But it also he's bringing in all these like C and D list characters that are real comic book characters, but that sound nuts, like Polka Dot Man and shit like that. And he did it. I think one of the deals he made, he hasn't explicitly said this one thing, but it kind of is implied, is that one of his conditions for doing this was that he got to kind of play around with characters that they didn't have plans for. So he gets to do things that they wouldn't normally do, such as possibly kill everybody, which I don't think he's going to kill Harley Quinn. I would be surprised if Idris Elba's character dies, just because getting him into the DC fold seems like something they might like to do. I would not be surprised to see Rick Flag, Joel Kinnaman's like stiff of a character from the first movie. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go. I don't know. I just think that there is all the opportunity for James Gunn to kind of take what people liked about the first Suicide Squad, which was some of the attitude and some of just the idea that it was going to be DC's answer to Guardians of the Galaxy. And who better to fulfill that promise than the guy who did that movie? But, it just looks like a different thing. I mean, honestly, every bit of footage I've seen, everything I've heard about it, I'm like, am I this excited about a DC movie? And I am. It seems like it could be an incredible blast. And the way everyone talks about it makes it sound insane. Like the violence and the humor and everything is going to be off the chain. The cast is incredible. I don't know. Is there a reason to withhold excitement at this point for Suicide Squad? Or the Suicide Squad? What's it called? It's called The Suicide Squad, right?
Yeah, The Suicide Squad. I don't think so. It does look really promising. I haven't heard any sometimes you'll hear bad things about production and things like that. Like I've heard nothing about.
Or it'll be clear that the studio's like tinkering or something, but it feels like he's turning in his version, and and plus there's a vote of confidence. John Cena's character Peacemaker. is getting an HBO series, and that looks like it might take in other characters from the movie, and we don't know yet how much that will deepen it. But James Gunn is like at least, I think, writing and directing some of those too. So I mean, that's a pretty major HBO Max project, and for him to get that opportunity, and this is all in between. Like this is all something he's got time for before he gets to work on Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I suppose that's the ultimate punchline to that story, and always will be to me, is that Marvel fired him, freed him up for DC to use him, and then Marvel hired him back. So it's like, how did he work that out? I don't know. The fate smiled on James Gunn, but if it means we get 2 movies where we might have gotten 1, then heck yeah.
Yeah. There's only one thing about it that bothers me. So apparently when the word got out that James Gunn was doing the Suicide Squad, Will Smith, who said he wasn't going to do another movie, said, I want to do it. And then Idris Elba's character became another character. So like Bloodsport's character is who he was going to replace Will Smith. It's so weird, man. But I'm good with it. That there's 2 characters now. So hopefully
but Will Smith is not in this, right?
He's not in it.
From what I understand, no, but he could come back.
Okay. Right. They did not recast his character.
They did not recast
him. Guy.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah. And made him a different character. Bloodsport. Okay. So that'll be interesting.
But you're right. That's almost like keeping in flux the idea that he could come back. I didn't even think about that so much. But But also, I'm excited to see Idris Elba get to play something. He's great when he's got something kind of funny and offbeat to do. And I really just feel like, I don't know. This feels like the kind of project where the actors involved would be like, this is James Gunn is doing this. Okay. Everything about it feels like, yes, let's just cross our fingers and hope that this magic works, because it is kind of another blank check project for him, where he's getting, basically a lot of confidence placed in his ability to combine all those elements.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
My last pick is going to be, I guess I'll go with Dune. And I'll be honest, like, I'm not super versed in Dune. I'm not like a super fan, like a lot of the people who are excited for this to come out are. I am a Denis Villeneuve super fan, and I am dying to see anything and everything this man makes.
Yeah.
The trailer was gorgeous. The cast is just, out of this world, amazing.
You want to say it's a great cast, but they just drew a circle around everybody and put them in this movie. So it's like...
Right. They took the circle that's on the poster and they just put all of them in it. But yeah, like literally this is like a testament to just the amount of talent that is just, trying to be in one of his films. I think he is one of the filmmakers we talk about a lot on this podcast. And with Just Cause, because he just continues to put out amazing films. And I think you literally look down this list of who is on the IMDb sheet or wiki sheet, whatever. And, if you pick 2 of the 12 and you put them in a movie and you're like, damn, that's a good cast. And there's like 12 of them in this movie, like everybody's in this movie. Timothy Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, Zendaya, Jason Momoa, Javier Bardem, and more.
Wow.
It's just kind of wild. The scope of the movie seems massive. What they have planned for this as a franchise seems massive. Hopefully it does well. This is one of the ones where it's kind of like, I hope that, if this sticks, this is later in the year. If they keep doing this thing, and they don't change course in terms of releasing a day and date, this is kind of one of the ones, if theaters are normal again, I would love to see in a theater if it's possible. Mm-hmm. But it just looks amazing. And he's one of my favorite filmmakers working today. So, anything that he would be putting out would be on, definitely the top of my must-see list for the year. So yeah, Dune comes out October 1st, as of now in theaters and on HBO Max.
Yeah, incredible looking movie, and just him going at the effort of like saying he's going to make Star Wars for adults, which is I think what he said somewhere. I don't know, just him knowing his movies, knowing the production value they're going to put into this, seeing that cast, hearing that idea. I love the idea of this movie being like the start of something new. If it's intended to be like 2 or 3 movies and they didn't tell the complete story in this one, which was sort of what I gleaned. I think I know Villeneuve was worried that the being at home and at the theater, and like whatever tepid box office might be expected from a year like this, that would be the thing that would kill the chance of this becoming a franchise. But I would imagine that Warner's is going to factor in all kinds of extra considerations when they determine what's a success this year. And I feel like Dune has a lot of visibility. Just people are excited about this because of all the love for the property. But even like you said, people like us who are sort of like aware of it, but not necessarily well versed in it, it's cool still to think you might see a really good version of something that is a classic story to a lot of people. So yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. Is it my turn?
Yeah, it's your last pick.
Man, I'm picking between two, and I think I'm just gonna go for it. Matrix.
Go.
Matrix. I cannot wait for Matrix. Although some of the cast members aren't coming back. Yahya Mateen is taking the place of Lawrence Fishburne, possibly, is what I've been hearing. But Keanu Reeves kicking ass. And especially with the scope of kind of what Keanu Reeves represents to the culture now.
Right.
Versus what he did before, which was great. I mean, Neo, people say things are a glitch in the Matrix all the time, right? That's like regular speak. But the context now of what Keanu Reeves represents to us culturally is so much different. And this will have like an extra layer of like, sort of nostalgia, and you're like, oh, that was the same guy that was John Wick. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. So no idea what the plot is. Nobody.
I think that's the coolest thing is just, they have an idea. You know what I mean? There has to be an idea to this thing, and that's cool that it can be high concept. So
yeah, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you think they're going to push effects forward again, or do you think you just can't do that again?
I would love that, man, because I mean, you hear about little things like the thing that they're going to do with Avatar, like 3D without glasses and things like that. I look. Every time that people say that nothing's moving forward in technology and things like that, something happens like that shifts the way that we think about looking at things, accepting realities and stuff. Like stories are being told in different ways now. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be pretty cool.
All right. Looking at the rest of the year, there's a movie that, I really want to say this one, even though I don't know much about it, but I'm sort of intrigued at the notion of James Wan directing an original IP thriller, Malignant. Don't know anything about it. Date TBD. Just kind of vaguely interested in it. But I sort of trust that he would not do something like this if he didn't have an angle. I know he's kind of a controversial director. I know a lot of people that just hate his movies and his style, like they think he's over stylized. But what you were saying about the Conjuring films, like one of the marks against Conjuring 3 to me is that it's not directed by James Wan. I'm still interested in those characters and what they might do with it. But I guess this is sort of like the other side of the coin with being excited about the next Conjuring movie is being excited about the next James Wan movie. And I like the idea. Maybe he's doing a small thing between two giant things. I'm sure he has something immense that he signed on for after like Aquaman, or maybe he's doing Aquaman 2, or, he's in that realm now of doing that size of movie. So I'm glad to see him doing something that seems like a relatively small movie, it being a thriller with a non, like name brand cast, so to speak. It looks maybe like a I don't know, something just a little bit more personal. So I'm intrigued by that.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, you look at him, and between him and honestly like Lee Wanell, we talked about a lot on the podcast, both of them really. But you look at what James Wan has done, in terms of his ability to create franchises, in the horror genre, and the Saw. You say one person / Lee Wanell's hand in this. You have Saw, you have The Conjuring, you have Insidious, and you say he's got a new original idea for another like horror thriller type thing, and you're like, yeah, I want to see that, because that could be something really exciting, really different. Like you say, maybe something more personal, maybe something a little smaller than the scope of those movies. But I get some of the criticism. I'm definitely on the other side of that. He's one of the ones that I'll watch whatever he makes. Definitely more stylized, a little more mainstream filmmaker. But
Just real slick,
Yeah.
you know.
He's super slick. Like, but when he's kind of dipping into these bigger properties, like you said, like with Aquaman, and I'm sure he's doing the sequel to that. He's a producer on Mortal Kombat. He did Fast and the Furious. He's definitely all around, and he's doing big movies. So like this is for him to pick this as the next one that he's doing as a director, I also take that as a sign of like, that's interesting to me. I definitely want to check that out. And I like the idea, like you said, it's a little ways off, but it's the same thing. Like there's really little to nothing known about the movie, like what it actually is about. But yeah,
maybe the best time to be excited about a movie is when you don't know shit about it.
100% agreed, man.
But that's a great slate. That's one studio. I mean, obviously that's the big studio that has announced that you're going to be watching stuff at home. I really will be interested to see what happens with the Marvel movie schedule this year and some of these other studios that have staked out those dates. I don't know. I wonder if it seems a little premature to expect much out of that. But I feel like Marvel has so much stuff kind of backed up that they have an attitude of trying to get stuff on the calendar just to move forward.
Push it forward.
I don't know if Marvel can take another year off on holding back these movies, but I feel like, I don't know, in a weird way, HBO Max kind of stole the thunder of the announcement of doing this all at home, because they're still going to get the theatrical, whatever gross comes from that. I don't know. I'll be interested to, like, mid-year on, it'll be really interesting to see how it pans out. I think for the next few months, we can expect similar numbers to what we've seen thus far with regards to, like, those box office receipts won't be huge, but summer, if people are getting the vaccine and people are starting to go back out and numbers of, infections start to go down, maybe some of these movies will be blockbusters.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. Well, that's the standouts.
Yeah.
I guess that we could pick, over the next year. And again, like, I don't know, I keep mentioning this because it's just one of the most interesting things that I want to follow with what they're going to do, because, as like you said, John, as the year goes on and if the world gets better and, life gets back to some version of normal, especially in the, exhibitor realm, I would be very curious to see, if a lot of this holds. I know they're very specific about saying 2021 and not so much beyond, but things can change, and I'd be very curious to see if the retention for the activations for HBO Max or something like that don't continue to rise through the year, and theaters go back to normal, and you have some of these bigger ones at the end of the year, like Matrix, like Dune. Even like Malignant, these horror movies make money in theaters. And, if they're not seeing the subscriber base go up because of this initiative, I'd be very curious to see if some of these movies that are on this slate, not all, but if some of them disappear and really go back to a traditional theatrical window.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So it'll be cool to watch that and see what happens. But
yeah, absolutely.
For now, we are looking forward to watching all of them in our house, at least, maybe on the theater screen. I don't know. We'll know. We'll see.
It's a cool slate.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's impressive. They're really one of two of the major studios putting movies out in theaters right now. So the criticism that they get for putting them on HBO Max day and date, they still can claim, like us and Universal, like we're still putting movies in theaters. So they're still there. It's a market issue. There's a pandemic. But they're giving people the option. But they're meeting demand by putting them in in your homes as well. But we'll see. So
as a person with a home, I like the at-home model. I just want to say that.
Oh, absolutely. For sure. And as you build up a nicer way to watch it at home too, as you have the means to do that, like you really start to vibe with the way you can watch it at home. Like, you know what I mean? Like building out where you watch a movie with a certain quality TV or surround sound or stuff like that. Especially if you're very annoyed by people in movie theaters disrespecting the theatrical experience, you're just like, maybe I'll stay home and watch this shit.
Yeah.
But, cool. Okay.
But we all can't wait. I mean, we all know that we can't wait for that first experience back at a big giant movie. It's like, and I think that's why I don't feel bad.
You'll go.
That's why I don't feel bad extolling the at-home option, is because I know I'll be back. I mean, I know that I'm excited for that, but I also am not in any hurry to do it before it seems like the right time to do it. So I feel that way about live shows too. I was just thinking, like, when I'm next at a concert, the way that you normally have that, you're looking at the people to your left and your right, and you have those moments of like, it's so awesome to be here, you know. Whenever that happens again, if it ever happens again, it's going to be that times 10. You know what I mean? You're going to have that moment of like, I can't, this is so fucking awesome. Oh my God, they're playing this song. This is great. Like it's, I mean, and who knows? Yeah. I wonder when, honestly, that could be years before I'm in that sort of environment again. But I feel like movies will be sooner, just because I can imagine a movie scenario where you go in, you're sitting far away, you've got a mask. I mean, I can just imagine, I can picture a socially distanced movie theater, and I could see it functioning at least as well as like the grocery store. The only difference is you're sitting in it for hours. And so I guess then your exposure goes up. So we're supposed to be wearing 2 or 3 masks now, right? Isn't that what I'm hearing?
They're saying a cloth and then something. Yeah, it's getting weird.
Yeah. I'm not going to complain, but I will say no. I've never been comfortable wearing one. And the idea of wearing 2 makes me even less comfortable in my head, but I'm willing to do it. I'll do it. If that's what it means to make other people at the post office feel comfortable, then that's what I'll do. But I'm not ready for like, just in case your head like a mummy.
Yeah. It's starting to feel like that, but I'm ready. I got my layers.
Yeah.
All right. So that wraps up the HBO Max conversation. Did you guys have anything else that you wanted to throw out that you had seen over the last week you wanted to mention before we wrap this up?
Nothing that can't wait till next week.
What's happening next week? Oh,
nothing that can't wait till next week.
Nothing can't. Oh, yes. I think at some point in the future, now that WandaVision's a couple episodes out, we should talk about the beginning until what's happening now. I would love to discuss that. I'm really enjoying WandaVision. I was going to say that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Same here.
Maybe next time we'll devote a little bit, like another little segment to catching up on the.
Yes.
We'll be through the 4th episode.
I have a feeling that after the 4th episode, there'll be a lot more to talk about.
Yes.
At least that midpoint, you got to expect that the storyline is gonna expand what it's showing you a little bit. This last week already did some of that. So no, it's been really fun to see that unfold, and I like that they're having like a buzz moment. I don't know. It's been cool to see that they've been able to maintain that kind of mystery factor with that show as it comes out.
Yeah,
I had one movie I wanted to mention real quick that I watched. I think I forgot to mention it last week, but
sure.
It's on PVOD now, or it's on demand in most outlets right now. But super under the radar. No one knows what this movie is when I mention it. I think Ronald, you've heard of it, but it's called The Kid Detective.
Mm-hmm.
How is it?
Have either of you seen this movie?
No. I saw it. I'm in possession of it, but I have not watched the movie yet. How is it?
I loved it. I will say it's one of the best movies of the year. It would definitely be on my list if we talk about this next week. Like, this is one of those things where I don't know, and I knew a little bit about it. I'd seen it on a couple, people posting about it on Twitter here and there. Adam Brody was on a podcast talking about it, and that's kind of where it got on my radar to begin with. But basically the selling is like, if you remember Encyclopedia Brown, like we're of a certain age where you probably have heard of Encyclopedia Brown. Like, think of Encyclopedia Brown grew up and was still solving the same kind of cases. And then a real one came along and he had to solve a murder. Like, that's the story. And it gets into some dark shit. It's very funny. It's really well made. I can't wait to see what this director does next. And Brody is great in it. I really love this movie so much. Like, it's one of the best movies I've seen this year. Like, not trying to oversell it to you guys, but I really want you guys to check it out because I feel like you both love it.
Okay.
And,
it looks funny. It sounds a lot like Dicktown. The John Hodgman show,
does sound like Dicktown,
which is like the whole concept of that is he was an Encyclopedia Brown style detective as a kid, and now he's a grown up and he's still doing shitty little cases like that.
And it's I remember you guys mentioned that.
But I mean, like, it's weird that the description. This sounds like it turns into more of a murder mystery, and Dicktown kind of refuses each time to really go that far. But I do think that it's interesting. I'd be curious to know, like, if they both aren't going like, oh shit, because those are both funny teams, and like this looks like a good. This sounds really interesting. I'm glad you can put it on my radar. Steve.
It was great.
Maybe it'll be on my list next time too. See?
And it kind of bounces in and out of like the kind of absurd, like idea of like what he is trying to do still as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But then it really kind of gets into some of the more like, like the mental game of like why someone would be like that as an adult, you know, and like the cases that he dealt with as a kid, and the case that he's currently dealing with that like kind of kicks it into more of a serious kind of movie at times. But yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. Can't recommend it enough. If that sounds interesting to anybody listening, you can get it on any of the on-demand, you know, rental or to purchase it digitally. But
Cool.
It's called The Kid Detective.
Gonna check it out. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else you guys want to mention?
Yes, just real quick. There's a mini series, I guess, limited series called Tiger on HBO that covers Tiger Woods' life from the beginning of his.
Tiger.
It's
Woods, yeah.
Tiger Woods, y'all.
Tiger Woods, y'all.
It's a crazy documentary that
HBO, baby.
HBO. So if you have HBO Max, it's worth checking out. If you don't, watch somebody else's. It's really good. Has some really cool in-depth documentary.
I saw it too. Yeah, it's great.
God, man, when it starts to get to the point where like his dad starts to interfere,
yeah,
it's heavy. It's heavy.
Hard to watch.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. Worth checking out. Tiger. It's a two-parter, right? Is it 2 parts?
I don't know actually.
I think it's 2
I think
parts.
it's maybe 3. Maybe 3 parts.
Okay, 3 parts.
I'd have to check it out, not to be sure.
Yeah. I mean, I watched them together, so I just kind of sat there. But yeah, I think it's 2 parts. Tiger. Great documentary.
And that just came out like last week or the week before, right?
Yeah, the second part just came out last week, so it was 2 parts.
Yeah, so it's definitely 2 parts. Yeah, so it was like the 10th or the 11th, and then last week, right? You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And each one is an hour, about a movie's length. So like,
yeah, it's like a documentary.
Yeah, be prepared to watch it. Yeah.
Cool. All right. That's gonna wrap it up. So we did a lot of talking about HBO Max and what's to come, and also just HBO in general. Talking about Tiger, that's on HBO and HBO Max. And again, Kid Detective, if that sounded interesting, is on whichever on-demand service you might, Fandango, Apple, iTunes, whatever. And next week we'll get back together. We'll talk a little about WandaVision because we'll be 4 episodes in, like John was saying. And yeah, maybe we can go through some of our favorite movies of the year. I'm going to have a lot of trouble with it. I'm going to tell you right now, like, because
I think that'll be the point of the segment. Will be to try to look back, you know,
even catching up with things I didn't see yet that were legitimately in 2020,
right?
Let alone ones that are still coming out that are eligible for Oscars this year. So, we'll see what we can accomplish, or I'll see what I can kind of accomplish.
Yeah, I feel like even that's a topic. I feel like even because normally that's like what we're leading up to all year, and this time when you were like, "Are we going to do that?" and we were like, "Yeah, we guess so," and then we didn't last week when we came back, because there were certain things I hadn't watched, and I knew like. I was kind of thinking, well, the Oscar consideration period is not over yet. But then I was thinking, like, I wonder if that's kind of the real subject. That's the real headline this year is just what a fucking weird year it was. So maybe that will be what we'll talk about. But I do think, it'll be a good chance to list some of these things and, you know, maybe we'll find a little inventory of how the year looked to us. But yeah.
Okay.
Very strange. Very strange 2020 was. Does anyone remember why? I'm kind of fuzzy on it, but I feel like it was a weird year.
And it was a bunch of stuff.
I know it was, but I can't seem to remember any of it. Anyway, well, great.
But
you good?
No, I was just gonna say thank you so much. Yeah. I want to thank everybody for listening, man. It's weird, but like we're in 2021 already. It's like thank you for listening, everybody. Yeah. It's just really thank you for holding on. Thanks for telling us, you know, reaching out to us, letting us know what you like, and we're trying to expand. We're putting more stuff online, and
as opposed to offline, we are selling shirts.
Selling CDs.
We used to be contracting and taking things offline constantly. Mm-hmm. Now we're expanding and we were like, putting things.
We got the hoodies coming out, and we're going to only sell the hoodies in person, not on the internet.
We're going door to door with our merch.
Just send me your address.
It works.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, you can find the podcast on any of the podcast platforms out there: Apple Podcasts, Google, Amazon, Spotify. It's everywhere. Or you can go to pod.link/movie schmovie. That's a landing page that we have set up now that kind of lets you kind of pick where you want to listen to the podcast, and you can listen to the whole catalog of episodes that we have. Again, that's pod.link/movie schmovie. And it's just an easier spot just to go to find everything. If you listen to this on Facebook, please comment. Let us know what you think of the movies that we picked from HBO Max's upcoming slate. Maybe one that you are more looking forward to than, obviously, if we didn't pick it, tell us about it. And if you're subscribed, just leave a review or a rating. We'd really appreciate it.
Please.
I mean, we'll say it every time, and doesn't really seem to do a whole lot, but we're going to just keep saying it.
Yeah.
Even when we have expressed our irritation,
Yeah. People still don't.
No one is intimidated. No one is encouraged. It's just like, whatever.
But they seemed irritated before. Why should I do it? Who cares?
It's going to put it out into the world again.
Yeah.
Eventually, someone will do it. One person will do it. I'm confident.
The one true review will be written.
One true review. A review to end all reviews.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Good seeing you guys. And as always, you made our day. Thanks.
Bye.